all, back to another episode inside the virtual boot room. We are back this week, episode 7. We have something a little special. We have a guest for you this week. We have Mr. Cultured Left Foot. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you guys?
Not bad. And as per usual, we have Paul lurking around on the couch with us as we talk Football Manager. How are you doing, Paul?
Ready to rock and roll, sir.
You sound so alive and awake.
I'm alright. I'm alright. In a bit of pain today with my back, but I'm alive.
Well, the good news is we're not going to make you do laps.
Fantastic. That's what I tell you.
So we'll get into it for the week here. So we'll start with our esteemed guest. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself and tell us what you've been up to in Football Manager?
Okay, so yeah, I'm Cultured Left Foot. Hello, everyone. Dave is my real name, but if you want to call me CLF, that's what most people seem to call me on Twitter. Yeah, I've got a save going on with NK Maribor at the moment out in Slovenia, where they're one of the biggest clubs already in Slovenia. In fact, they are the biggest club in Slovenia. So
easy save.
Yeah, it's an easy save. That's what I've gone for, yeah. Dominating the league is pretty easy. Going into Europe is incredibly hard. So what I want to do is the whole point of the save is to get Slovenia to become the number one league in Europe, which will be pretty impressive because I think they're ranked 46th in the world at the moment. So I want to sort of overtake England, Spain, Italy, Germany, all of that lot.
So I will tell you that I love these kind of saves. So we are going to spend some more time talking about thoughts and strategy on this, but do continue. But I love these kind of saves.
Okay,
agreed.
That's good to know then. That's good to know. So, the strategy I've got, obviously, I want to try and use as many of my youth players as possible because the more I use Slovenian youth, the better the national team gets, which means they therefore get better FIFA rankings and it increases the reputation of the league along with how well I do in Europe.
Yep, we're friends already.
Yeah, but it's proving quite hard because although I've got one of the best youth academies in Slovenia, being the biggest club, the youth they produce actually isn't very good. It's because it's all relative, isn't it? When you get a report from your scout or your assistant for your youth intake and it's like, oh, he's got potential 5-star, that's 5-star potential compared to your club, not compared to who you actually want to be playing against, like in Europe. So, yeah, it's tough because you absolutely
send some
boss
guys
the league.
From my academy to you.
That would be wonderful.
Happy to help.
Yeah, that would be absolutely wonderful. Because you dominate. Oh well, so because I dominate the league so much, I think in the first season I lost one game. The second season wasn't as good, but I still won the league by like 13 points. But then you go into Europe, and I got beaten by Benfica 5-1, and it's just demoralising because it kills your whole team. So it kills their morale as soon as you get one loss like that. So it's an interesting balance because I've never had a game like this before. All my games are generally, oh, let's go to England and I'll be a Premiership team and have loads of money to start with and just buy the best players. So it's a different save for me, and I'm actually thinking I'm reaping the benefits of enjoyment out of it as well. So
yeah,
it's good.
No, and it's always glad to hear that because I think to me this kind of a save where you're taking a much smaller league in stature, relative to where you're playing, and really trying to drive and push growth and advancement makes you think about the game in such a totally different way. I really enjoyed when Second Yellow Card started it, and I played around a little offline, but how you think about trying to strengthen the entire sort of an entire first division as opposed to not just yourself.
Yeah,
it's so different.
It's an odd thing to think of transfers where, as I said, like all my previous games in England, you don't sell to another English team. You try as hard as you can to sell to a foreign club because you don't want that player to come back and haunt you. Whereas in this, probably about 75% of my transfers have gone to someone else in the Slovenian league.
I think it's a really nice thing to do, and as I said, something which for myself, you're doing this year the type of save I love to see. And it's mainly because it's the type of reminiscent type thing when I see it happen.
Okay.
Because when I look back throughout the years, the likes of Bate Borisov, Zelina in Slovenia, Maribor as well for myself, Shakhtar Donetsk in previous versions. Throughout the years, I've loved doing that type of save. And myself now, if I wanted to be in Slovenia, Slovakia, or Croatia, that type of country, I normally like to go to the second tier now. But it's more because I'm kind of burned out all of them type of clubs, through previous years. Like I think 2006 maybe I would have been Maribor in Football Manager. That type of, I think it was that long ago now, but I had a really good 4 or 5 seasons with them, trying to see what I could do in Europe, and I was dire. But I love to see people doing it because it's just, and especially like you said there, you normally go for the likes of England.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's great to see you saying to yourself, right, I want to go out of my comfort zone. I want to go and do something different. I want to go and change and build a nation. I think it's just really, really nice to see. And I was saying to Colin that I really fancy doing a Molde save where I kind of build the club with just homegrown players.
I think they're really good saves when you can actually, I think, get the longevity out of it. It is a good save to do for homegrown only. I just think it's quite hard to do that at such a not a low level, because Molde are one of the better teams, aren't they?
They're like
in their
top
division.
3,
So
top 4 side.
so it does help. But I think it's a lot easier to get frustrated in a game when you're only using homegrown players and it's continually backfiring and there's nothing you can do about it because you've set the rule of homegrown only.
Yeah, I think
it's a challenge.
I mean,
it is a challenge.
how are you finding yourself financially? I mean, are you looking around the youth academies of the other clubs and poaching their players and selling them the older players back?
Well,
how are you doing it? Because I know you're trying to build the nation, but then you also need to make sure you're still winning the league. So
yeah, weirdly as well, this is the first time I've ever played a game, and I think you're very similar, Paul, in the way you do transfers, is that you're not allowed to use the Know All Players tab. It's only scouted players.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've ever done that, and it adds so much realism to the game. It's unbelievable, because you're totally dependent on terrible scouts and a terrible scouting network that you've got to actually go and find the players. I think in a couple of episodes back, I found a youngster that my scouts absolutely raved about. So I went out and bought him. After all the scouting, I got full knowledge of him, and they said he was like a 4.5 star, 5-star potential. I signed him, got him to the club, and my assistant manager was like, he's a 3-star potential player. It's just like that could happen in real. Yeah, I mean, he only cost me like 20k or something, which that's peanuts for Maribor at the moment. But yeah, it's just
still stings like hell though.
Oh, it does, yeah, massively, because he's released on a free now. Like 2 seasons later, and he's released on a free. So, or it was something like that. But it just, and that I found out that about Lelujo on his sort of journeyman save, or whatever he calls it, non-league to legend.
Yes.
Because he does that there, so he's only allowed to sign people that his scouts have found or have recommended him or have come to him through agents and stuff. And it just adds so much realism. It gets more value for money out of the game, I think. So.
It just, as you say, it just kind of it makes it more realistic. But then for us, it makes it more fun. Obviously, if people don't enjoy doing that, then obviously don't do it.
Yeah, I think it totally depends on the sort of save you want. Because
exactly,
the stream save that I've just started that you're a part of, I'm Stuttgart, and I haven't got very much money, but I'm just sort of throwing it around because that's the sort of save it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit of a laugh and. Yeah. Things like that. Whereas this Maribor save, I'm doing a bit more seriously and realistic as I can, and things like that. So, yeah, it's good. I much prefer it actually.
Because I tomorrow night's episode that goes out for me, I talk about the financial situation of the club. We're losing money dramatically at the minute.
Right.
And I bring up the podcast we had. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, where we were talking about. Short term, putting yourself in financial difficulty for the long term goal.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of explaining on the episode to stop people coming and saying just buy that person and buy that person. I don't want to do that because in real life, if you're losing the type of money I'm losing, which is, if I go on my finances now, 22,000 a month. I would, at this level, I wouldn't be able to then go into my boardroom and say, well, let's just spend 30,000 on this player and 50,000 on that player, and let's damage ourselves short term for the long term, because the board wouldn't. They'd turn around and go, no, we just can't afford it. We haven't got the money in the bank. We're in the red. The bank's not going to lend us the money, so
But I think
no.
there's another side of that too, and I think we talked a little bit about it. To me, you that's a trigger you can pull. So using England as an example, right? To me, that's a trigger you can pull at the championship level, right? Where that the payoff in the next division is going to cover whatever you do, right? Now, it's a huge gamble, don't get me wrong. And, you're really rolling the dice to say, I'm going to spend myself into oblivion and I damn well better get promoted because I know that Premier League money is going to make it all better, but that's Premier League money. I think, to your point, I think it's absolutely, a realistic thought. And I think, even in the game universe, it's a real consideration in the sense that, so if you spend yourself stupid, right, and you make this almighty gamble, you're going to end up in League Two, right? So it's not like you're not all of a sudden going to be infinitely better or rolling in like tens of millions of dollars. You're really not going to be in wildly that much different a state. Now,
that's what I was thinking. And that's you make the best point there, as you say. And in real life, if I was minus 50k or minus 100k and I'm in the championship, if I went to the bank and said we need a £1 million loan to sign this player, we think he's going to push us to the next level, or we went to an investor, they would do it because they look at the potential gain. And that is how many clubs probably get in financial difficulties, because they take the gamble, they take the risk, which is possible. But as you say, and as I say on my video, which goes live tomorrow night, I have 50k transfer budget, but I'm minus 50k in the bank. There's no way I'm going to spend that. And as you say, because if I get promoted, I'm going to get nothing. Going to League 2 is going to get me no extra gates, really. It's going to get me no extra financial revenue, really. Maybe a little bit of parachute payment comes in League 2, but nothing which justifies thumping my club into the ground.
I've always thought that obviously I don't know how it works in real life, but if there was a way in Football Manager, you could actually tell the board, don't give me a transfer budget, invest it in the club somewhere else where we need the money to be spent.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you can move it obviously from transfer to wage, but there's no way to say I'm comfortable with the wage I've got, I don't need a transfer budget. Let's use the squad we've got and we'll build from the ground up.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like when sit down, we had a meeting two weeks ago about next season for Bjerkreim and discussed, right, we've got sponsorship money coming in for this and this. We need to get new kits. We've just ordered 20 new footballs from England, the Premier League ones, which was nice, and some other equipment, like training equipment. And then we discussed, right, well, that's some of that budget. This is a budget for travel costs for the bus to the matches away from home, etc. They don't turn around and go, okay, so you've got this transfer budget, or you've got this money to spend on this. You've got to balance the money and work out what's going to happen. And I find that doesn't happen in Football Manager, because my projection has projected that I was going to lose more than I actually have. Yet they still give me a transfer budget. And that's just wrong. As you say, you should be able to say, don't give me a transfer budget because we know we can't spend it.
Projection really annoys me in Football Manager, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't include any sort of TV money you get.
Don't think it includes anything. According to this, I'm going to be minus 315k at the end of this season. I just can't see it.
I just don't understand how it figures it out, because I've seen quite a lot of again, Lelujo goes into it quite a lot with projection, and it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't make sense, because he's always under his wage budget, but he's always projected in like 2 years' time to be well in the red. But
it's just, finances and Football Manager is a gripe of mine anyway, and I did a save, as Colin knows, and I think some people on Twitter would have saw last week. I started just messing around with B93 in Denmark, the original club in Copenhagen, and you're spending 14,000 a month on youth income, youth something. What's it called?
Recruitment.
Hang on, let's have a look. Youth setup.
Youth setup. Okay, yeah.
So I was spending 14,000 a month on youth setup, yet we were losing like 40,000 a month, and it's like surely they would cut that back. And I asked them cut it back, and they said no. And you're just like, come on,
Yeah.
it's
I,
like stupid.
I mean, I guess
Yeah,
sorry, go on,
oh,
Colin.
no, I was gonna say that there's a whole bunch in that bothers me, right? There's a bunch of hidden. There's got to be a bunch of hidden mechanisms and things like that because it doesn't tally. It doesn't add right. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. What's going on, and it bothers me because so much of what you're trying to do, especially if you're in a lower league management, right? Your financial health is going to dictate all kinds of things, right? If you're starting low enough, it's the gatekeeper between semi-pro and pro. It's the tools you need to really grow and not grow and
just sorry
really
to
leverage
interrupt.
so many options. Sure.
Just when you say that, it's the difference between semi-pro and pro and amateur. I think when you go that far down in Football Manager, I've only done it a couple of times, so I might be wrong, but I think it's more accurate, the finances, because
I think it's dreadful. I think it's absolutely dreadful.
It depends. Well, again, I'm talking when you have the custom database and you're going down to things like, well, Folks and Invicta were my local club when I grew up, and they're amateur, and to get to semi-professional, they do say you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank.
Sure.
Well, I would say that the biggest issues. I mean, I'm looking now at the finance screen at Darlington. Then I'm going to use some real life examples.
Yeah.
Income for last season: investments 0, prize money 0, TV revenue 7,000, sponsorship £7,500.
Yeah.
I mean, is that some sort of joke? This is a fan-owned club. Investments 0, sponsorship 7,500. Where's that? Fundraising 68,000 for a whole year for a fan-owned club. That's just stupid. There's been no thought put into it. Then, what I wanted to say about when you talk about low league and low down, one thing they have in Norway is a prime example, which has not been inputted in this game, which annoys them daylight on me, is every team has youth teams. Like, for example, at Bjerkreim we have, I think it's like 16 youth teams.
Yeah.
And Egerson, for example, who are level 3, they have, I think, 30 or 40 youth teams. Like maybe 5 or 6 teams in each age group.
Yeah.
Boys and girls. And each child at Bjerkreim, for example, pays, I think it's 300 kroner, so about £30. 15 kids per team. That up, you're looking at a fair amount of money. Then they've got to pay for clothing, and they've got to pay for other things as well. And it all comes into the club, and it all helps fund stuff.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, sponsorship for us, we've just one sponsorship deal was more than £7,500, and we're the 7th team of Norway. So at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of stuff in terms of income which seems to be missed in Football Manager. Stuff like the fees for junior teams and like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I do understand where you're coming from there, because the clubs wouldn't, in real life, they wouldn't exist, would they? If they all had no money coming in, they just wouldn't exist.
Exactly. If they all just constantly lost money, it just wouldn't happen. And it's just
and that's what I was trying to get at. Like I agree. I think there ought to be limits on being able to change your category for the club. But to me, right, exactly that piece of things, that there's no way on earth that every single club is hemorrhaging money at the rate that that the game sort of predicts. That no one would be around. It would be an unsustainable business. No one would get into it.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could argue that football is a very unsustainable business, and it's very rare that someone new gets into it.
The thing is that's
But it's different in the sense. I know what you mean. They're not hemorrhaging as badly as the game would suggest.
No, especially when you go down to grassroots stuff like 4th level below in Norway, for example. But then when you look at like 3 teams in our division have all just built brand new 4G pitches. We've got a brand new 4G pitch from a few years ago. We've got indoor facilities. A lot of the clubs have it. It's all funded by sponsorship by local businesses, like who have a stake in the clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Norway is a playable league in Football Manager, so why is that not inputted? Because the researchers know about it. The researchers can add it. I'm now a new researcher. I've just started this year in researching just for a couple of clubs local, and I think for FM18 I wouldn't be surprised if I'm doing a lot more, because the head researcher for Norway ended up contacting me for a lot of information this year. Okay. After I went on a massive rant in a private
yeah, you told me about that
section.
Yeah.
So hopefully it gets on, because
we all heard about that.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating when you see such lazy and half-arsed effort when it comes to a game I love. I mean, I want to see it. I mean, even I'm going out and I'm managing team. When I come home, I still want my Football Manager fix.
Yeah. I know that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, you come home from work and you want to do it. You wake up in the morning and your missus goes, "I'm taking the kids out," and you're like, "I'm in Football Manager time."
Yeah.
You want the fix, but you want it to be accurate. You don't want to boot up a save like I am with a club who is currently building 3 stands in a stadium in real life, a club which is currently buying players, a club which is currently run very well financially. I'm managing them, and since day one I'm losing money every single month in ways that this club should not be losing money. And it's just frustrating that it's happening. It's well done, Colin. You brought a rant out.
Hey, these are the things I do for you.
Yeah. I think I know. Obviously, we're talking about finance, which I think is a bit off topic from what we were going to talk about. But I think it's a known fact that the finances in Football Manager, and I think Colin might have said it earlier, that they are wrong. That there's a lot more that can be. They're not wrong, but there's a lot more that can be done.
But do you not find that frustrating, though, that we are sitting here and we can see it? Yet for many years now, the finance screens looked pretty much the same in terms of what's there. They've added a couple of others. I think I'm just trying to look down now and see what they have added, because I know, they added fundraising this year, I think. But then it's still pathetically inputted. Like, it's just lazy. It's just lazy work.
Well, so before we kind of circulate the rest of what's going on the save word, I did want to ask, so as you're progressing through this nation building save, if you've picked up what are sort of the top 3 things that you've learned or have changed about your Football Manager perspective, but now as opposed to when you started this save?
I would definitely argue that I've never realised how important scouts are. Because this is probably, again, the first game where I've ever actually had terrible scouts. And they do find and get players wrong a lot. And it like you said, it's frustrating. It's not very much money when you actually buy a player they've recommended, but when you get them in and you're told they're a 5-star potential, and then they come in and they're a 3-star, it's a bit of, oh God, not again, sort of thing. And
because now you're stuck with them.
Yeah,
but it's nice though.
And you've got to pay them a contract. And
what I want to ask you is, though, do you not enjoy that in terms of when you get someone in and he's dreadful, and
just to stop for everybody, Paul, you're the only guy in the whole FM community that loves the bum and will stand by him till the end of his playing days.
I was going to say, yeah.
Right? I like it when you sign, say, 5 people and only one of them turns out good, because I kind of think to myself, wow, it's really realistic. My scouts really screwed me over, and now I'm having to play this crap. And I sit there thinking, this is really cool.
Okay, so I can put that into 2 questions, Paul. Okay. No, I don't like it when it happens to me, but yes, I do like the realism.
Okay.
I've got to agree with Colin. I don't think you've got to be the only person that sits there and goes, yes, he was shit. Sorry, excuse my language, but yeah, you've got to be the only person that sits there and says that.
But it's part of the game when you watch. I mean, do you know what? Let's just say I'm glad my players don't listen to this. I had a player join us second half of the season, and people told me that, oh, he's a really good winger. He's gonna improve the squad. And in the first game he played, I stood on the touchline thinking, wow, this guy really is absolutely horrendous. But I
Yeah,
must
but I
admit,
bet you had it
but
with
true
two
to
thumbs
your
up with a
football-
massive smile on your face.
Yeah,
do you know what?
and true to your manager form, you were like, this guy could be my captain all the way up to the first division.
Do you know what? I'm actually completely opposite in real life because I dumped them off quicker than you can say boo. So he was long gone, but it was quite. It was like a football manager experience where my scout turned around and go, "This guy's awesome." And as soon as he started playing, I just thought to myself, "Oh my god, how quickly can I substitute this guy?"
Yeah, but now in my head I've got a picture of you like thinking that, but also like chugging a beer in celebration
Just
because
I sat
because
there
it worked
thinking
out
it.
that he was terrible.
Bram Ellison of Biekerheim.
Bram Ellison was a good play. Don't start. Don't start this. Move on before I cancel this podcast and cut you off.
He is the Bram Ellison of Biekerheim.
You're such a bully. Bram Ellison was a good player.
Yeah, for the first level, not the fifth one.
Like,
But we will start that fight later.
I'm not talking anymore.
Sorry,
Do
Colin.
the
You said you had
podcast
some more
yourself.
questions.
No, so what are you? So
Top three, wasn't
the
it? Top
scouting
three.
realism. Yep, you're on number one. Okay, you got
Yeah.
2 and 3 left.
Okay. I think it's made me realise that there's more to Football Manager than playing in England again and signing whoever you want. Definitely. It's definitely made me realise that it's harder when you don't have as much money. Actually, it's not even that. I've got a load of money, but no one wants to move to me. Craig Gardner, right? Craig Gardner from West Brom was released on a free transfer, and he didn't want to move to me. And he's been on a free transfer for nearly 4 months, and he didn't want to move to me.
Sometimes unemployment is better than snow.
Well, yeah, he obviously thinks getting a paycheck from the Dole office is better than playing.
I was about to say,
in
just
Slovenia.
remember, in England, you guys get like paid an absolute fortune to sit around and do nothing, so you're probably enjoying it.
Yeah,
Ah.
true. So, and thirdly, I don't know. What have I learned from this game? It's a good question actually, because it makes me think about it.
Have you learned how to rotate your squad between Europe and the league in terms of knowing which games you can win in the league? I don't say easily, but you know what I mean, like the lesser teams.
Yes, to a degree. I try to keep the same 11 as much as I can until.
Oh, I thought you would have heavily rotated before European games.
No, because I generally have a smaller squad because I want to introduce youth.
Because no one will come to you.
Because no one.
Tiny problem.
It's a case that I have a smaller squad and then fill it up with youth players when I need them.
It's a great thing to do, though. I mean, that excites me just thinking about all these people getting a chance. I mean, you are creating employment.
Oh, good.
You are a job. There you go. You are a job creator and an economic engine.
Yeah.
See, you are carrying Slovenia.
So I think if I just for an example, I've got my game loaded now. If I look at my average age of my squad, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people in my first team squad that are under the age of 24.
Oh, nice. What's your average age?
Bloody hell.
Mine's 24. I've just checked. Maybe I should sack my 2 oldest players just so I can. See, my issue is
just to claim it.
I've got twins in my squad. And I'm looking at the fact screen now. I've got twins in my squad. I've got Phil and Stephen Turnbull, and they are both joint the oldest players in the squad. So if I sack both of them off, my average age is going to plummet.
Let it never be said that Paul's not so
what?
competitive that he's willing to fire guys just to win an age competition.
One thing I have noticed as well about this year. This year's game is regional signings. I think we spoke about last week a bit. A lot of my signs, if not 90%, are all from within the region of Darlington, around the northeast, down to maybe Leeds, up to Newcastle, Blythe area. And I'm really struggling to attract people from different areas of the country.
That's
I don't know if you've...
terrible.
Well, there's that too. But I don't know if you're having that or not, Mr. Dave.
It's a lot easier for me to attract anyone that's already based in Slovenia.
Yeah.
If they're already playing in the Slovenian league, there isn't anyone that won't move to me. It's just anyone outside of Slovenia, then it becomes a real struggle.
Same. Well, I have less of a phenomenon, but yeah, inside of France, I can go out and I can get anybody in France to show up and play for me. Yeah, I
Aye,
haven't. I'll fully admit I
piss.
haven't bothered going outside of France because I'm not interested because that's not the point of this save. But
Yeah.
inside of France, yeah, it's phenomenally easy to get anybody. Even, and I'll admit manipulating is not the right word. I'm certainly leveraging the crap out of the fact that as guys' contracts come down to expiration and just signing them for freeze in the future to come to me because I am, I have an enormous reputation as one of the best, youth development setups and youth development academies and growth places. So I'm like the universal stepping stone, which at the end of the day is certainly nice to, leverage.
I'm thinking if I should announce to you guys now that I've just had my youth intake. And
it's crap.
It's
they're all going
safe
straight
to
to the first team.
Do you know what? I'm actually looking at one now who is.
There's a captain for the championship in there, isn't there?
He
is.
I'm gonna.
There he is. You've got a captain for the championship in that intake, don't you?
Actually, no. He's not even close. I'm actually considering if he's even good enough for this level.
But you'll still keep him.
Oh, I'll definitely keep him. I've got a guy hanging in who's just won. He's just finished runner-up in Player of the Month. He's just turned 20. He's got 118 appearances for the club already.
Jesus God.
He's half a star of ability. But I genuinely think I genuinely think he's better. I honestly think he's better.
You think everybody's good.
What do you know? He's better, I promise you.
You have never met us. No, you have never met a star rating you've been disappointed in.
I promise you he's good. I'm going to tweet him out now. So anyone who's listening, you're not going to see the tweet because this goes live 3 days later.
You have never met a shitty star rating that you've never loved.
Link the tweet in the description. Have you ever listened to this podcast? I forget to link the stuff we talk about in the description.
Make a note, link the tweet, because the world needs to see what in God's name you're trying to do.
You just don't understand. I'm tagging you both. We're doing it live. You don't get this on other podcasts. Other podcasts act professional. I'm tweeting something out, which you guys listening are never going to freaking see, because I don't even think I know how to link a tweet. Do I just select it? I do. I've tweeted him.
I'm looking at him.
He's awesome, isn't he?
No. He's not bad, yeah. He isn't.
I replied.
I don't even want to know. Do you think he's better than the star rating says?
No.
But get out. I'm not asking you. I'm asking Dave.
But he's fine.
I'm not for the. I mean, his stats for a centre midfielder are pretty poor.
Well, just get out. He just won backup, second play. I've just conceded an own goal. Right, move on. Right, what are we talking about?
Was that? I think that was 3 points.
I think we're 34 minutes into the podcast and we've not even started the first topic.
Hey, that's awesome. Okay. That's okay. We've had
topics are out the window.
We have had some interesting conversation, and we've learned about your absolute undying love for the awful player, the awful regens.
Just remember the name Ryan Burton, because this is who on FM18 you're going to be mentioning. Like you mentioned Bram Ellison now, it's Ryan Burton on next year's.
I'll make a note of that, and we'll see.
Right, do you know what? Mr. Cultured Left Foot, I'm now going to do even more to annoy the people who are watching. And you can see my screen.
I can.
You can see my screen. I am going to show you Bram Ellison. Oh, screw it, I'm going to tweet him. He deserves a tweet. He's
okay, you're tweeting it. It's easier for me to see.
I've tweeted it. Right, Colin, what's the topic? Keep talking while he checks out the tweet.
Hold on, I need to remind you. On Twitter, right now, live, your tweet to Bram Ellison, as I reply, still crap.
He's not crap. Right. What's your thoughts on him? Bear in mind his age at the time of that tweet.
Still crap.
He is better than the star rating suggests.
Thank you.
He is. I mean, he's not brilliant.
Would you play him
just
in the to settle the debate? Would you put him on the field in the championship?
No. What? Of course you wouldn't.
Booyah!
What do you? He'd made over 800 appearances for the club. He has 17 for passing, 12 for first touch. He has 15 vision.
He's got 9 for work rate in the centre of midfield.
Yes, but he played over 800 appearances at the age of 35.
Yeah, but that's just because you don't know when to fire him, not because he's that good.
Oh, seriously,
you just don't know when to fire a guy.
You've got to go and look at the tweets.
Just go and find the tweets.
He's still crap.
Just
crap.
move on. Just move on. This is just abuse.
Yes, as a matter of fact,
Do you know
we
what?
are here
You guys
every week. We're going to educate you on how to get a god-awful player off the pitch.
You guys can see my screen. In my box, I've got a folder called Bram with all of his achievements and everything.
Oh god.
Still
And I've
crap.
got... Right, what do you think of this person?
Hang on.
Do you know what, guys?
Ace-
The abuse is just dreadful.
Yeah, but you keep
Bring
showing
it on
us people.
yourself.
Yeah.
Right, move on. Right, do you know what? Screw it. I'm doing it. Okay, so the next topic is... Oh,
Okay,
here we go.
fine. So we're going to
Right.
rag on you anyway. We're just going to do this in a different fashion.
Oh yeah, how's your
So the-
season going at the minute, Colin?
I finally won.
Oh,
And I'm still in League One, so suck on it.
just 3 on the bounce.
So, the question, and so if for people who have been following my particular series with Le Havre, if you watched,
Easy save.
hey, eat it, buddy, eat it. Hey, it takes a lot of hard work to develop the next Paul Pogba.
Sure it does.
Damn Skippy.
Edit.
So for folks who have watched last week's episodes, you will notice that we have been on a bit of a skid to close out the season. So what I wanted to know, what I wanted to talk about this week, because, if I'm hosting, I get to do selfish things like this, and this is helping me. The question is, how do you close out a season? So you're in a spot, you're trying to sort of consolidate around your goals. How do you go about closing out a season? And the second part is when that closeout is sort of like crashing and burning, which up until my victory now, which is going to be quickly followed up by an ass whipping, I'm sure.
Obviously.
How do you stop that sort of dreadedly brutal poor run of form?
I assume he's asking you because he said he's asking on this podcast to get help.
And you're not the guy I'm going to go and ask.
When I put my opinions across, he would just he'll honestly just keep saying Ellison.
Well, your strategy is put a guy of Bram Ellison's quality out there, and I'm like, no, but I don't want to lose.
Well, I actually, on one of my episodes which went live this week, I hit a really bad run of form, so my solution was to play 6 16-year-olds in my starting 11, and I actually won my first game in like 6, and I started to go on a really nice run. I literally just thought, you know what, my team can't win for shit, I'm just going to stick the kids in and see how they do. And it worked. So yeah, he's probably asking you, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that.
I'll just let myself out.
Yeah, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think to close out a season's tough because it's I think it does totally depend on where you are in the table. So I think Colin,
So
you're nearer
let me
the
help
bottom.
frame it up. If we were sort of the top end of the bottom half of the table, how would you approach it?
So the bottom half, you're just trying to make it sound like you're doing better. You're in the
Listen,
bottom
you.
half.
So you're doing like a
Go
Stoke.
sit in the corner.
You're doing like a Stoke in the Premier League.
Yes.
You're mid-table and you're happy, and that's your level.
Damn Skippy.
He's not
practically
he's not
do
mid-table.
backflips.
He's in the top half of the bottom half.
You sit in the corner and think about your poor starting
It's like
11 choices.
it's like a relegated going, well, I finished top of the bottom 3.
Right. Yeah, in that sort of position, I would. Well, what I tend to do, because I have been in that position before, is I really look at scout reports and tailor my teams to the ones I think I can definitely beat, and I sort of write off against. So, for example, in your position, like PSG, Monaco, I would literally just write off those results and say, if we get a draw, it's a total bonus. But I would use that to either try new players, maybe not, 16-year-olds that are shit. But again, excuse my French. But
it's important to help Paul understand things we don't think are a good idea to do here.
But if you've got fringe players that haven't played that much, I would put them in against the bigger teams because you're looking at that as a bonus. But then I would do the sort of, not the reverse, that's the wrong word to use, but I would do when I'm playing the smaller teams that are below you in the relegation zone or definitely below you, for example, that's when I'd go in and look at the scout reports in a bit more detail, see where they're conceding their goals, where they're weakest, where they're strongest, what their strikers like, and do things like that. That's normally how I go and close out a season when I'm in that position. When I'm trying to close out because I'm in, I don't know, let's say I was at Swansea and I was in the Champions League places.
423 points ahead in the Slovenian First Division.
Yeah, so well, I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing. That's what I do in that one. But
touche, sir. Yeah. Touche.
if you're so I had my beta save was with Swansea, and there was one point when I was in and around the Europa League spots, and I was trying to really desperately stay in there.
Watch out, Bob Bradley may call you.
Yeah, yeah. I could go on for ages about Swansea and Bob Bradley, but that's maybe for another time. I tried desperately to change my formation to become, well, Jose Mourinho-esque. We are not going to lose. That's what it was. Everything went defensive. Everything went keep the ball. Everything was possession, and it's defensive first and not do anything. And it massively backfired, and I ended up finishing below mid-table. So that's some advice of not what to do. I wouldn't drastically go and change your formation. That's a bit of advice I'd always give Football Manager players. I don't think it's beneficial to anyone drastically going in and changing your formation. I think subtle tweaks against teams you think you can beat. The scout reports are so well done, I think, in this version of Football Manager, that there's so much information that you can actually use it to your advantage. And I don't think anyone did that better than Foxy or Fox in the Box, who was one of the first people I started to watch, and who actually, he was doing his YouTube videos, and that helped me out in Football Manager 16. And it's a shame he hasn't got into 17 as much as he did with 16, because his videos for tactics and reports wise were brilliant of how to understand what's going right and what's going wrong. And I think that's my main advice for how to close out a season, whatever position you're in, is use your common sense for which games you can and can't win, and the ones you should and could be winning, or should be winning easily or easier than the other games. They're the ones to focus on with when you actually use everything that's at your disposal in the game, really.
No, so I will admit that's certainly, that's been more or less the focal point, and I've done a little bit of tweaking to the formation, nothing super radical. I haven't gone out with like a 3-4-3 or something of that kind of a magnitude, but I think I would agree. I think on some level, and I am actually legitimately curious to hear from Paul on this thought in a second, because I think he's had a little different experience. But I'm a big fan of stability in approach.
Yeah.
In what I'm trying to do, and trying not to sort of radically disrupt the apple cart, and that seems to be not really working for me. But hey, what the hell?
I think something that annoys me when I watch, I think once you're creating YouTube videos, you just find yourself watching so many anyway, whenever you're playing in the background. And the thing that annoys me about it is when you get people that they have a tactic and they win 6 or 7 games, and then it completely falls down, and they go, right, that's it, I'm going from a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2, win the next 3 games, and it falls down again. And that's okay, it's good in a way, because you can keep chopping and changing. Your players won't learn the formation, but you might get some wins along the way. But I think it falls down in the sense that you're not playing it properly. I mean, what sort of manager would do that in real life? It all comes back to how much you want of the realism from the game, I suppose. But I've never understood that. If you've got a way that you want your team to line up, it's tweaking that to make it better and to suit the opposition you're playing against, rather than just going, right, well, that's not working anymore, let's go to 6 at the back, or something like that.
Well, I think you've got to... That's where the three tactical options come in in my opinion. Because mine this year are dramatically different. In terms of, I have a 4-1-4-1, which is my classic tactic of sit back, shut up shop, make sure you're solid.
Yeah.
Point first, win second.
Says the man who despises ultra defensive Italian football. Sorry, I had to get that in there.
just the Italian football.
Well, I don't think so.
Yeah, let's not push it. Then my second tactic is a 4-2-3-1. So technically, not dramatically different, but then it is, because what that tactic is designed basically because I've only got one very solid defensive midfielder, and he's built of glass. So when he's unavailable, my defensive midfielder moves to the attacking midfielder position, and I play somebody else. And I've spent the last 2 years trying to sign another defensive midfielder, but currently my scouts keep rejecting people who wouldn't even get in my squad. So they keep suggesting these people who are just horrendous. So until I find somebody who's going to fit my tactic in terms of he can pass, he can header, he's got good strength, good vision, etc. He's a deep line playmaker who can also be a ball winning midfielder type thing in defensive midfield is basically what I want. I'm actually leaning more towards just retraining a centre back in that position now, just because I'm finding the midfield options available to me by my scouts are dreadful. So
because that sounds very similar to how I play the game, as in I know how I want my team to line up, and they have to fit my formation and how I want to play.
Well, yeah, exactly. If I play a defensive midfielder, he has to be basically a third centre back.
Yeah.
In terms of, I don't want him doing anything, and I do that in real life as well. And again, it's as you were saying, you said you want to go for the realism side of things. And what we've done and I've already got pre-planned for next season, for when training starts next month, is we have that the tactics set in terms of, if we switch things up, the players know where the tactic's going to move to. You're going to go from one defensive midfielder to two, or you're going to go from one defensive midfielder to none and go for the 4-2-3-1 style. If you do have the dramatic changes, it has to be preset so the familiarity is full. I know what you're saying, where people will have a tactic, then they will completely change it. But it's not changing it to one of the three tactics they've already created.
That's what annoys me.
Yeah, they change it to something completely random. Then they go, well, why is it not working? Well, it's not working because your players have never used that tactic before.
Yeah.
Because my third tactic is a 4-3-3 narrow, and I've not used it in 4 years, but it's set there in terms of the players they've trained on it and they know the tactics. If we ever do have a situation where I have no wingers available, we are trained in a tactic where we can go 4-3-3.
Just while you said that formation is my absolute nemesis on this game.
I've never used it.
I cannot play against 4-3-3.
I
narrow.
love it. 4-3-3. Oh, okay. I 4-3-3 wide. Is like
4-3-3 wide.
Thing on earth.
That's pretty much sort of what I play. But the 4-3-3 narrow, I cannot play against it. There's one team in Slovenia, and they play it, and I think I've drawn with them twice. They're the best results I've got.
I should give it a go. I mean, one of my strikers might actually score a goal.
We're going to make a quick note. Next episode, we are definitely going to be exploring counter tactics, and I would love to get some thoughts on that one.
It probably is, because the way I play is I play my team, I'll set fairly narrow, but I have my fullbacks bombing on and overlapping.
Yeah.
So if they sit, and so I try and exploit the middle. So as the fullbacks bomb on, that should pull their midfielders out of position, which means a big gap in the middle of the park. But if they're playing 4-3-3 narrow, they're going to sit there, and I'm just still going to... I try and change the formation to go around the wing, and it still doesn't work. But yeah, it's just... Anyway, I'm going off topic. It's a massive bugbear of me playing against 4-3-3, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And everyone has that formation where it's like, we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but no, I think the interesting part is sort of stability versus variety, and how much pre-planning you really do to kind of close out the season. And I think the interesting point, and I think you're really spot on, is being more methodical and taking a look at your schedule and really saying, is there a place where mine is a good example, right? At this point in the save in the series, there's not a planet where or a universe out there where I'm going to sit down and be like, yep, we're going to go in there and give PSG a run for our money, right? The name of the game is let's try not to get totally blown off the park.
Yeah.
So it's not the place where I'm going to be trying to fiddle around, trying to squeak points out. So it's really taking a cold, hard look at games that we should be winning or need to be winning and saying, yeah, like this is where we have to put an effort forward. I need to get the right tactic, the right guys on the field. Can I rotate some so that the right players are healthy? I can manage suspensions or yellow cards or whatever it is, and and really sort of stabilize the effort. I think that's a really good piece of advice for people to think of, that as you're getting more into those complicated struggles, that you got to pick and choose your battles of where you're going to try and break the run. That just constantly throwing things against the wall to try and break a run is never really going to get you out of it. That trying to look at, this is somewhere I can get some points, this is a place where I can go and play for a draw, then keep pushing and pushing till you can get a string of those kind of together and sort of pull some survival out of the whole equation.
I think that's what it is, and I think, annoyingly, I don't really like his attitude as a manager, but when Jose Mourinho was in charge of Chelsea in real life and they won the league for the first time, what he did is he picked which games he should draw 1-1 or win 1-0 and played defensively and kept the ball, and then when it was a team against a weak team, he went out and they run riot. Right. And it ended up winning them the league because their rivals for the title weren't taking points off them, really. And I think that's what it's a bit of a strange sort of similarity that I've gone for, but it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? If you're in a position on Football Manager where yes, I'm happy with this position, or you could go up one position or down one position in the league, then pick which games you actually want to put all the effort into researching what your opposition are doing and how you're going to beat them. But then, against the bigger teams who you're probably going to lose against, don't worry about it so much if you lose and get battered.
So this is a perfectly safe environment. So other than Paul, you can feel free to compare yourself to any of the world's greats. You keep putting guys like Bram Ellison out there. I don't want to hear any Carlo and Jose, comparisons.
Yeah, you can be called Bob Bradley.
The abuse gets ridiculous. Do you know what? Before you're not allowed to reply to this. You've just got to move on to the next topic. I'm going to end by saying, which one of us gets paid to be a football manager?
I'm a football manager, but I don't get paid. But I did do the League and Cup double last year.
Damn, you could just move on.
Yeah.
Just move on.
You are at a much higher standard than me, though, Paul. You are a manager at a much higher standard.
Just pathetic.
Well, he's a manager. I'll throw that out there. I'm willing to concede that, but we'll argue about the standard later. So then the other piece of it is and Paul and I have talked about this a bit on the podcast before. So I wanted to get a slightly different perspective, mostly because, again, I'm trying to stop the mess I'm in. Poor run of form. So you had mentioned earlier in your conversation that you're running roughshod over the league in Slovenia, but you go into Europe and take a 5-1 smashing at the hands of a Benfica.
Yeah.
Right. That's the kind of thing in the game that instantly can turn into an absolute mess to try and control. You go in, you get slaughtered, and now you've got everybody sort of whimpering around the locker room, and we all know that FM is sort of notoriously sensitive to the squad harmony metric. So the question is how do you handle that?
Similar sort of attitude, really. I don't drastically change my formation. I don't think that ever works in Football Manager. But what I will do is, like you've said, the squad harmony is so crucial in modern day Football Managers that I will always try and pick whichever players have the highest morale for a start, because I don't know if you can class it as overpowered in Football Manager, but morale seems to have a really big impact on results, more than it probably should. But you've got to sort of weigh it up, haven't you? You've got to pick the players that are good enough to be in the squad. Sorry, Paul. And that have decent morale. That's the first thing I go for. If you're struggling for players, if all of your players have taken a shot for morale, what I try and do is I will keep the same basis of my formation, which will be a 4-1-2-3 wide sort of thing, but change roles to ones they're most familiar to play in, because then you're asking them to do some things that are less uncomfortable. Maybe remove some instructions to try and make it a bit more basic if you've got quite a lot on there. So my formation has somewhere between 10 and 17 instructions for the team to do. And then I micromanage my players and I'll tell them what I want them to do as well. So when I lost 5-1 to Benfica, the next game after that, I think I drew 2-2 in the league and then lost 2-1 in the league. And I was like, well, clearly something's not working here. So I kept the same structure for the formation, and I changed some things around. So one of my centre midfielders went from centre midfielder on attack to a centre midfielder onto support because it was his favourite. And I got rid of the wingers were asked to, tightly mark fullbacks and really get stuck into tackles, which when they're on low morale, if you're pissed off, you're not going to really want to do all that sort of shit, are you? You just want to do the stuff that you're good at.
Right.
So that's one thing I would definitely suggest is try and reel it in to make things a little bit more basic without changing what the formation that the players know. And morale is, as I said, maybe overpowered isn't the right word to use, but I think it is very effective, let's say, whether it's positive or negative. I think morale is a big issue in Football Manager, which you can argue is in real life, but
yeah, no, I think it makes sense. And I think it's good advice, and it's a good perspective for people to start thinking about sort of how to control those wild swings and out of control runs. So
yeah,
I'm certainly intrigued, and we'll see how it works.
I rambled on a little bit there, but for example, I play with inside forwards, but if it's not working, both of my players that actually play as inside forwards on the wing prefer to be wingers. So if they're getting pissed off or the game's not going very well or I'm in a bit of a rut where my wingers aren't assisting, I'll turn them to wingers and drop my fullbacks back. So I will still have the width, but it's being supplied by the people that actually want to be wide players.
Right.
It's all a bit... I think I've confused myself. So if the listeners have followed that, I'll be very impressed.
So feel free to let us know if you figured out the advice. But no,
yeah.
But I think the stability and simplicity and sort of comfort are it's valuable information and good advice.
Yeah,
I think
it's whenever I've watched the lower league series on YouTube, the ones that do the best are the people that have the simplest formations. And I think you can...
ones that do the best are the ones that edit the way.
Okay, the second best. Or
have actually,
yeah.
Or have all the masking off and have high manager stuff.
Don't
so
get me started about playing without attribute masking. What's the point? But anyway,
yeah, let's go on advance. Screw it. Go on, Colin.
I don't even want to get started.
Colin's such a really good on the show on the podcast. He leaves all the abuse to me.
I require another beer, and my glass is unfortunately empty at the moment to go down that path.
We can wait.
I'll tell you what, I could easily get going, and then you carry on when you get back with a beer. I mean, attribute masking. I mean, what's the point of being in, for example, Doncaster, and you can do a search where you can search for 20 finishing, 20 composure, and 20 off the ball and pick up a region who no one knows about?
Actually, do you know what? I don't mind people doing that. It's not how I play, but I don't mind people doing it. This is what annoys me. Check this guy out, or let me show you how I scout. Let me do a post. Let me do a video on how I do my scouting. Oh, so do you have attribute masking on? No, I have it off.
Yeah.
So you don't actually do scouting. You can literally just see anything you want. Yes, You're right. Yeah, I'm going to take advice from you. Yes, definitely.
Well, to be totally fair, though, it certainly makes making decisions way easier.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when past experience, international manager. Whoa, look at who I can sign for this proper low league club. That's weird, isn't it?
I don't think enough. I would class myself, and probably you guys do as well, as a hardcore Football Manager gamer. So you know most of what things link together. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't realise if you go to a lower league team and put yourself as an ex-international footballer, it actually affects who you can sign and how much you inspire the players.
Yeah,
oh God!
Agreed. I think
because
you might as well.
Sorry,
it's the absolute equivalent of like feeding anabolic steroids to the players. It's like we'll just jack you up because I'm a god and you're just thrilled to be in my presence.
Yeah, because I didn't know. It might have been in Football Manager 16. But definitely in 17 this year, there's a feedback you can go and look at for every single player, for every single team talk you've done. And the amount of times when I started at NK Maribor and it said, didn't have faith in team talk, or something along those lines where you're just not inspired.
Who was this guy?
Yeah, that's pretty much
Some
what they're saying.
idiot stood up and started talking, and we had no idea who the hell he
Yeah.
was.
In English, they couldn't understand a word I was saying.
Like, who is this crazy guy?
But yeah, I think there are people out there that don't realise that.
Do you know what? I completely agree, and I think it's. I mean, there's at no point whatsoever would I tell anyone that I'm an expert at the game. But then I also.
Wait a second.
But then I also. Well, I mean, as I always say to people, 99.9% of my seasons, I surpass the expectation of the board. So I'm not
To
a
be
bad
fair,
player.
getting relegated is not, okay. No, I don't
surpass
disagree. I
the
give you abuse,
expectation. But what I would never tell people, oh, I'm an expert at this or I'm an expert at that. But what
Sure.
I do is I release posts on the website of stuff which I've done and have experienced at. I would never release a post or do a video about scouting if I didn't scout correctly. I would never do a post or release a video about a journey to the top if I dramatically improved myself at the start and failed to mention that. That's what frustrates me. It frustrates me when people are pulling the wool over other people's eyes and coming across as teachers when they do not do the thing themselves.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's a pretty fair criticism.
If you're going
to stand there and you're going to kind of, on some level, right? If you're a blogger, a streamer, YouTuber, whatever, right? You have some, pulpit, for lack of a better descriptor, where you're helping people, whether you like it or not, admit it or not, whatever, right? You have some presence where you're sharing and helping people with the game, learning the game, how things work, and to kind of gloss over some of those pieces that is sort of incredibly fundamental to
game changers.
Why you're succeeding, and people will sit down and be like, I don't understand, I can't recreate it, it doesn't make any sense.
That's the key. That's the key.
I had and I personally had an experience with it in FM15 where I had watched somebody, I didn't know any better. I banged my head off the desk for a long time because I couldn't understand why the things I was doing just didn't translate. I could not get anything that I was seeing going, and it made zero sense to me.
Yeah.
And to me that's a community disservice.
Yeah.
I agree. The game is wide, the game is varied. You can play how you want to play, do what you want to do. Great. I have zero issue with that. The key is you need to be, you really need to just be open about what you're doing, so that players who don't know better. I mean, we're standing up and people say, "Oh, I'm just putting the content out on YouTube." Yeah, I understand that, but you are talking to
you're in the public eye. Don't turn around and say, "Oh, I'm doing it for myself. I make this content for myself." Then don't release it publicly. If you release it publicly, you open yourself up to other public opinion.
Yeah.
And I think one thing which I've reiterated for a couple episodes now, and I'm going to continue to do because this is a new podcast, is that we will be one of the most unique podcasts in this community because we will tell you what we think. We will not hold back and just do general talk. If I don't agree with something, I will tell you I don't agree with it. If there's people in the community doing stuff wrong, I won't name and shame people because I think that's wrong to publicly call people out, especially if they are not in this chat talking. But I will say I've seen this happening or that happening. And if you're listening and you know you've done that, then it's probably aimed towards you, or if it's not aimed towards you and you're doing it anyway, then stop being a dickhead. Because at the end of the day, we in this as a community, and I think if you're releasing content to the public, you have an obligation almost to be honest to them and to explain what's happening. And it all started, didn't it, as we know, with in terms of it becoming a lot more public, the the demand of honesty from people with the stuff that happened with StatApp, and it's gone on, and there's a lot more stuff happened, and there's other stuff happening. There's people now in this year's FM who are releasing videos who have clearly hyped the manager up, and there's bloggers who are blogging guides and tips which aren't doing that stuff themselves, and
that's the thing that gets me, is that how many people actually go onto YouTube and search for Football Manager playthrough series? It's not, is it? It's how do I get better at Football Manager? What tactic is good at Football Manager? That's how people first find all these series that we watch anyway, and like FM Central and websites like that. And it's tricking those people that actually want to get better at the game. It's unfair on the community.
So what we're trying to say is be nice, tell the truth, play the game how you want to. That's the key thing. Play the game how you want to play it, but if you are publicly displaying your content, make sure you explain how you've set up. So, for example, if you have jumped up your manager, show it at the start. Say, oh, my manager's got X international experience because I want to build a backstory, or I wanted a kickstart, I wanted to make it easier. If you have masking off, then say, I've took masking off because I can't be bothered to scout.
Yeah.
Don't then go, look at this guy I found. Oh my God, my scouts came across this guy. He's amazing. And it's like, shut up.
Yeah.
So, move on, Colin, before it carries on.
Nope. Fair enough. No, I think, and I think that's.
I can't even remember how we got onto that.
I needed a beer.
Oh yeah, that was it.
No,
yeah.
But I do hope that
the rant came from you needing a beer.
Yeah.
But I hope that people do sort of recognize inside inside the community that, this is what we intend to bring, right? That the name of the game is, just being open about this kind of stuff. So, but speaking of community and our interest in the community and, and our community focus, I think it is time for one of what I find the more enjoyable segments of our show, other than telling Paul how terrible he is at things, is sort of our community picks, the things that we're looking at, the things that, we're watching and enjoying, because if nothing else, getting more people to experience more of this, especially good content creators, is what we're all about. So I will let our esteemed guest go first. So Dave, you are first. Give us your 3 community picks of the week.
Okay. I think the main people I watch are obviously the bigger people. So I'll give them a mention, but they're not my actual pick. So it's just people like Lelujo, Dr. Benji, and Loki Doki. They're really big. They've got loads of subscribers, and you guys, obviously.
Obviously.
Of course. I mean...
Oh yeah, and a shout out to Second Yellow Card, because I think everyone misses him in the community. His stuff was always really good. Second Yellow Card.
That was a joke.
Oh, sorry.
I actually spoke to him yesterday on Facebook.
Oh,
how is Mr. Card?
I don't think he's too bad at the minute. Don't think he's too bad, which is good. He's hopefully getting to the bottom of things.
No, I think as all good hardcore FM community members know, he is by far one of the nicest, most giving guys in the community. So we do wish him nothing but the best in his recoveries. And as all good FM content absorbers, we are eagerly anticipating. His blogging series is nice, so it's great to see him putting things out.
Yeah,
but we all need to see Giraffe, his giraffe costume in the corner of our screens on the occasional days, because life is just not complete without a little furry fun from Second Yellow Card.
He has a beautiful head of hair as well.
He does. He really does.
He does, doesn't he?
But anyway, back to
Colin
your community
definitely
picks.
do not.
I have no hair.
It's like, okay, it's like one of them, them chairs you got to lie back in, and Colin just goes, okay, I'm ready to speak. I have no hair. How did that feel, Colin, getting that off your chest?
Dude, I've been bald for a long ass time. So I moved past it eons ago.
Eons ago. That shows how old he is. Right, moving on. Who's the other two?
Sorry. I'll go on to my proper picks now. So the first one I've got is Diego Mendoza on Twitter. So at D Mendoza 1969. He does actually write a blog, but I don't follow his blog. I just follow his games on Twitter because he tweets pretty much about every goal, every game, all the little quirky things that are going on in his stories. And he's moved from Caracas and he's gone over to Arabia and he's named it Diego of Arabia, which is very good. And I think it's quite an easy, light thing to follow if you don't want to read whole blogs and you don't want to watch whole videos, but you're into keeping up to date with other people's Football Manager stories. The way he does it on Twitter, I think, is very, very good. So I'd recommend him as a light, easy one to follow. It's quite good. And the thing with Twitter as well, you can just log on to his Twitter profile on your computer or your phone and just scroll down and you'll literally just see everything he's posted and you can get up to date pretty quickly. So yeah, he's quite good.
Excellent.
Definitely check him out. The next two I've got are YouTube producers, so video producers. We'll go first with Gendo, who's a fellow American, like Colin. And he's got a really good series going on at the moment with Chicago, where he's trying to get them to the top of the MLS and see how far he can take them, which is going really well. And I first got introduced to him through another YouTube series when it was just playing as I was playing Football Manager, and his was the next video that started, and I got into his Sheffield save where he took on the original Sheffield team, which I think was the oldest team in Britain, and see how far he could get them. And it was a really good series. If you go back to that and want to watch that as a long-term thing to watch to have in the background while you play Football Manager, I can highly recommend him. So that's Gendo FM. He's very good. And last but not least is Proudy. He's quite popular on YouTube. I think he's got around about 3,000 subscribers already. But what I like about Proudy's videos is that not only is he quite funny as a person, but his videos are really short, and he's the only YouTuber I've ever really seen do it where it's like about an 8-9 minute video, maybe 10 minutes maximum, where it's just a bosh, in we go, this is what I've done, have a bit of a humour about it. He's pretty terrible as well. I mean, he when he wins, it seems to be very fluky, and I think he knows it, and he gets that across quite well. He's good friends with Dr. Benji, so it's that same sort of humour. If you're into Dr. Benji, you'll probably like Proudy. But yeah, it's the short videos he does, and he's just started a new one with Borussia Mönchengladbach, or a German team, because no one really knows how to spell it. So, but yeah, it's really good. So,
Munching flapjacks.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah.
I've not had a flapjack in ages.
I know. I had that same thought. I was like, I'm a little hungry.
I was going to say that's Paul's mind wandering, but it looks like it's both of you.
I've got some English cheddar cheese in the fridge, which I found in a Asian store, which sells like I've got some PG tips as well, which you can't buy in any store here. That was in the Asian store as well. Oh, I might have a cup of tea and some cheese before bed.
Just in case anybody wanted to know the incredibly exciting characters that we are, that Paul's thinking about.
To be fair, it's 12:40 in the morning. I think I deserve a bit of cheese and tea.
To be fair, it's 6:30 here, and I'm smelling dinner in the slow cooker here and getting awfully hungry.
Nice, very nice.
Trouble is, I got another 2 hours to wait for my wife to come home from work. So
don't worry, then I'll send you a picture of my cheese and tea.
Well, it's 25 to 12 here, and I've got a whole pizza. So
get off.
It was delivered for free as well. I've already had one.
I know. I was in the stream when you mentioned it.
I got a free Papa John's pizza.
Ooh, thanks.
So, the nearest pizza shop's like 20 miles away.
Yeah, bad luck.
Thanks.
Enjoy your cheese.
No stuff.
Do you want my picks?
Yes, sir. Why don't you take your picks, and then I will close things out.
The first one I'm going with is a Twitter account, FM AcidFire21. Now, his normal account is AcidFire21, and he created the FM AcidFire21 just for his saves. He did it last year. I think he did it the year before, Sunderland Albion. I think that was FM AcidFire. It might not have been. But he rebuilt the whole American system, and he only actually started playing the save this week, I think it was. And that was because he's put so much time into this in terms of making sure the system worked properly. Many holidays, tests, many edits, many fixes. And he's managing Detroit City FC in the United Soccer League Division 4. And he's not walking the league. And he also does very beautiful images per game. So every game that he's played on Twitter, he posts this. It's like a score, like what would you call it? Like just like an advertisement poster, kind of telling you what the score was, who scored for the team. It's so well put together. Really, really good account to follow. So definitely worth giving him a follow, because you know when you're following it, you are just going to get Football Manager stuff. So yeah, that's the first one. The second one is occasionalfm.wordpress.com, and that's FM Samuel who does that. If you check him out, he's doing a Red Bull Leipzig save. Sorry, Matthias.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I've just swore. If Matthias is listening, I guarantee you right now, as he's listening, he's just picked his phone up to abuse me on Facebook. So yeah, check that out. The save's called No One Likes Us. I think he's talking about Leipzig and not himself. I assume so. So check it out, and definitely worth a read. And the final one is our friend Matthias, Dare FM, and he is trying to get his identity back, and he's been talking to us about it. He's got many ideas in terms of how he wants to do his posts, and he's gone down the route of almost like a newspaper style in terms of how the posts are written. And I think it's going to come together well. It's just a matter now of building the length of it in terms of 4, 5, 6, 7 posts, so people start to get the story together and get into it, and then it'll come together nicely. So that's definitely one to check out at DERFM, DERFM.wordpress.com. So yeah, that's mine, Colin. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so
that was seamless, by the way, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So now that I finished abusing you on Twitter again, I have my 3 community picks for the week. So the first one is a reading one. So fmgrasshopper.com. So he's in South America with La Plata, which is a little different. What's up?
Can't handle it. I don't like it.
Why?
Because his grasshopper save was literally legendary to me. I absolutely loved it. Some of them posts were some of the best written content I've ever seen in the FM community. So when FM17 come out, I kind of thought, oh, brand new Grasshopper. Then I found out he wasn't going to manage Grasshopper, and I was like, what? So I'm on strike. I'm still reading it, but as I'm reading it, I'm thinking it's not Grasshopper. But
no,
yeah,
it is true.
Content.
So I do recommend going back and checking through his Grasshopper save. It was far better, but or it was not far better. It was an absolutely excellent save.
Job.
But yeah, now that I've shoved my foot in my mouth.
It was one of the most talented writers in the community.
But the La Plata save is also going really, really well, and it is very interesting. And I enjoy it, and it's a different flair, right? It's South America. It's different.
Agreed.
It's different types of players. It's different styles and schemes and thoughts. So it is interesting. I do enjoy it. One that I have mentioned before, and it is certainly a lot of fun to watch. It is Keepers on YouTube. He's doing Lupa Roma, so bringing up another Rome club inside the Italian football system. I know Paul, and we can go on a lengthy argument or conversation about his disgust for Italian football and apparently Spanish, which I vehemently disagree with. But we'll another day. Another day.
Watching freaking paint dry.
But it is very interesting to see. So it's something I very much so enjoy. And then the last one is to keep up with our themes of German football. Is AP Football on YouTube, and he's got a lower league save in Germany, bringing a lower league club up. So if you're looking for something that's lower league management and not the usual run of the mill Vanarama North or South, I highly recommend it. It is really good stuff to watch.
Thanks, Colin.
Well, it's it didn't mean to be, mostly.
I'll just move on. Delete this save.
I sort of feel bad.
Do you know what now as well? After you've literally just said that, can we give a special shout out, as we will probably weekly, to Golden FM? He's just won promotion with his Region Rovers, so...
Oh, you could spoil that for me.
Yeah, I know. Just crapped on that for me, too.
Sorry,
yeah,
lads, I'll tell you what. If you haven't seen it, then you're blind, because it's been all over Twitter.
Oh, fair enough.
So well done to him. It's
Absolutely.
still so much fun to watch, and he's such a nice guy. We've said it before. He's been on the podcast. He hosted with me. He's a good friend of mine for a long time now. Really, really is definitely someone you have to go and check out.
So there it is, folks. Your weekly dose of content, of ranting, and our making fun of Bram Ellison. So until next week, I wanted to say a humongous thank you to Cultured Left Foot,
Okay.
Dave.
Oh, not me.
If you want
been a
to,
pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Yep. If you want to plug where people can find you, Twitter, anywhere else, go ahead.
So you can find me on Twitter at CulturedF. Pretty simple. YouTube, just search for Cultured Left Foot. I'm the only person in the world on YouTube that has a name called Cultured Left Foot, which is good in a way and bad in others, because it means it's a terrible, terrible name. And I've just started up Twitch streaming as well, so come in and join a stream if you ever see me online. That's just Cultured Left Foot. Cultured_left_foot.
Are you left-footed?
I'm not. Do you know why I've called myself Cultured Left Foot?
Go on, please.
I've called myself Cultured Left Foot because I'm a right-footed bruising centre-back. So it's the complete opposite of how I play football. I have no skill. I'm a head-it and hoof-it right-footed defender. So I thought, why not name a podcast? Why not name a YouTube channel after the complete opposite sort of footballer that I am?
Why not?
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, good luck with your streaming, and we have had a great time having you here. And as always, Paul, it has been a blast to
Yeah, brilliant.
It has been a ton of fun for me to give you endless crap for the last hour and 20 minutes. So
do you so next week.
Thank you very
Not
much.
just you, Colin, either. I've enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yep.
So we will be back again next week. So
we won't be.
As
You
always, as always, it will be me talking to myself next week. Now, you can find us at Virtual Boot Room on Twitter. You can also look either Paul or myself up on Twitter. You have at TN_the Northman or at FM_Yank. And we look forward to hearing from you and talking to you next week. So until then, bye now.
See ya.